Have you ever had one of those moments where life throws you a curveball so sharp that it feels like the whole world is against you? Moments where you feel like you're already on your knees, and then, just when you think it can't get worse, life adds another blow? Well, that's exactly where Marcus found himself that night in the busy Atlanta airport, dragging behind him a worn-out duffel bag that had seen better days, clutching his ticket to what he thought was his only shot at turning his life around. He wasn't just catching a flight, he was chasing hope, grasping at one last opportunity that could mean the difference between finally standing tall again or sinking deeper into the quicksand of struggle he had been battling for years. But little did Marcus know, a single choice, one act of kindness would set into motion a chain of events that would change everything. And the craziest part, the very person he least expected would one day show up at his doorstep, holding the answer to prayers he had whispered in the dark when nobody else was listening. Marcus was 32 years old, a black man carrying scars that weren't always visible to the eye but were heavy on his spirit. Growing up on the south side of Atlanta, he knew hardship like it was a family member. His mother worked 2 jobs just to keep the lights on, and his father had been in and out of his life more like a ghost than a presence. Marcus had dreams, big ones, like any kid dreams of becoming an architect, of building homes where people felt safe and rooted, homes his own family had never truly known. But life had a way of robbing him at every turn. When college fell through because money ran out, when job applications got tossed aside because of the zip code on his ID or the color of his skin, when mistakes in his 20s left him with a record that employers didn't even bother to look past, each setback cut another piece out of his soul. Yet Marcus never stopped trying. He worked construction during the day, delivered food at night, slept 4 hours, then did it again. Every dollar he saved was for this one shot, a training program in New York City that promised not just a certificate but a chance at steady work, steady pay, and maybe even a way to restore his dignity. He'd been counting down to this flight for weeks, every shift, every meal skipped, every sacrifice made, and now he was finally here. The airport buzzed with announcements and hurried footsteps, and Marcus, with sweat beading on his forehead and his heart pounding with both excitement and fear, knew this flight wasn't just about getting on a plane yet, it was about getting his life back. But life doesn't ask permission before it tests you. As Marcus rushed toward his gate, glancing at the clock, panic set in. Boarding was nearly over. He picked up his pace, weaving through travelers with their rolling suitcases and coffee cups. That's when he saw her, an elderly woman, frail, leaning on a cane, struggling with a suitcase far too heavy for her fragile frame. She tried to lift it onto the conveyor belt at security, her hands trembling, her face etched with both determination and exhaustion. People passed her by, their eyes sliding over her as if she were invisible. Marcus felt the pull of the internal war between his desperation to make his flight and the voice deep inside reminding him of his mother, reminding him of every time she had carried too much alone. He slowed down, his chest tightening. "If I stop, I'm gonna miss it," he muttered under his breath. The plane, the program, the chance to break free, all of it was right there, within reach. But as he looked at the woman, bent and struggling, something inside him whispered louder than his fear, "Some things are bigger than your own plans." With a sigh that carried the weight of sacrifice, Marcus veered toward her. "Ma'am, let me help you with that," he said, his deep voice both gentle and firm. She looked up, startled at first, then relieved. "Oh, thank you, son. I didn't know how I was gonna manage." Marcus hoisted the suitcase with ease, guided her through the line, stayed by her side until she cleared security, even offering his arm when her cane wobbled against the slick tile floor. Minutes bled away like water slipping through fingers. Each second screamed at him, "You're cutting it too close, you're not gonna make it." But he couldn't just leave her. Something about her reminded him of his grandmother, of all the elders in his neighborhood who had poured wisdom into him even when the world tried to empty him of hope. By the time Marcus finally sprinted toward his gate, lungs burning, sweat soaking his shirt, it was too late. The door had closed. The plane was gone. "Sir, I'm sorry," the gate agent said with rehearsed indifference. "Boarding is complete. You'll have to book another flight." Marcus pressed his palms to the counter, his voice cracking. "Please, you don't understand. I need that flight. It's everything I've been working for." The agent shook her head. "There's nothing I can do." And just like that, his dreams evaporated into the stale airport air. He sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. Frustration and despair collided inside him. Why did life always seem to punish him for doing the right thing? Why did kindness cost him more than cruelty ever seemed to? He thought about his empty wallet, about how the rebooking fee was more than he had, about how the program in New York wasn't going to wait for him. His chest ached with the weight of it all. That night, Marcus walked out of the airport with his duffel bag dragging like an anchor. He rode the train back to his small apartment in silence, staring at the reflections of strangers in the window, wondering if he had just thrown away his last chance. But life, unpredictable as it is, was far from finished with him, because the woman he had helped Peter, the elderly stranger with trembling hands and tired eyes, would soon become the very reason his story would take a turn he never saw coming. And days later, when a knock sounded on his door, Marcus would open it to find her standing there, holding not just gratitude, but the key to a future he had almost given up on. Days had passed since Marcus missed his flight, and each one felt like a stone pressing down heavier on his chest. The world outside his small apartment seemed to move on without him, but Marcus was stuck in silence, stuck in regret, stuck in the haunting thought that maybe he had finally lost his last chance. He replayed the moment at the airport again and again in his mind. The gate door closing, the agent's indifferent eyes, the bitter taste of disappointment as reality sunk in. Every time he thought about it, he clenched his fists, angry at himself, angry at life, angry at the fact that kindness had cost him everything. He tried to shake it off, tried to focus on hustling, delivering food, doing odd jobs to keep the lights on. But late at night, when the city quieted down and his apartment felt too small for all the weight in his soul, Marcus whispered prayers into the dark. "God, I did the right thing, a broken bar, didn't I? Please tell me it wasn't all for nothing." His voice cracked each time, as if he wasn't sure if anyone was even listening. On this fifth night, just when Marcus had given up expecting anything good to come his way, a soft knock echoed against his door. It startled him, and no one really came by. He hesitated, wondering if it was the landlord, maybe a neighbor needing something. But when he opened the door, his heart stopped. There she was, the elderly woman from the airport. She stood with a kind smile, her cane steady in her hand, her eyes brighter than he remembered. In her other hand, she carried a small bag. Marcus blinked, confused. "Mama Broken Bar, what are you doing here? How did you even?" She chuckled softly, her voice warm, almost like honey soothing a sore throat. "Son, when you helped me at the airport, I didn't even get the chance to thank you properly, and the truth is, a broken bar, I haven't stopped thinking about it. You gave up something important to help me, didn't you?" Marcus's throat tightened. He wanted to brush it off, act like it was nothing, but the memory of his missed flight burned too fresh. He lowered his eyes. "I missed my plane. It was important. Yeah, but you needed help. That's all that matters." She stepped inside when he moved back to let her. His apartment wasn't much appealing: paint, second-hand furniture, the faint smell of takeout lingering in the air. But she looked around as if she were stepping into a palace. "You remind me of my grandson," she said gently, "always putting others first, even when the world doesn't return the favor." Marcus sat on the edge of his worn couch, unsure what to say. "I just a broken bar. I just didn't want to walk by like everybody else. My mama raised me better than that." The woman's eyes softened with emotion. "And she raised a good man. That's rare these days." There was a silence that felt both heavy and comforting. Then she set the bag on the table and opened it. Inside was an envelope. She slid it toward him. "This is for you." Marcus frowned. "What's this?" "Open it," she urged. With hesitant fingers, Marcus tore open the envelope. His eyes widened. Inside was a stack of crisp bills, more money than he had seen in one place in years. His chest tightened as he stammered, "Yeah, I can't take this." "No, ma'am, I don't know what this is, but I can't." She reached out and gently touched his hand. "Listen to me. That day at the airport, I wasn't just a tired old lady with a heavy suitcase. I was a test. Life via broken bar, go the broken bar, whatever name you call it, was watching to see if someone still cared enough to stop, even when it cost them something. You passed that test, and I believe you were meant to. Tears stung Marcus's eyes. He shook his head, overwhelmed. But why me? Why would you do this for me? I'm nobody. I've been struggling my whole life, and every time I think I'm getting ahead, something drags me back. The woman smiled knowingly, maybe because her story isn't over yet, and maybe because I can help make sure of that.